There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do we have an invader with us?
We
today?
do. We have a special guest.
Cindy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm here. I made it.
What is going on, all you crazy people in the Omniverse? We are here at the cabin,
Yes.
having our second official
Official. Yes.
reciprocal propulsion retreat.
Yes.
And if you're out there, let us know in the comments where you're coming in from. If it is your first time, leave a blue heart so we can attack you and love on you.
Yes.
We look at that. We got Mr. Jim.
He's ready.
Let's go. How you doing, Mr. Jim? Oh, look at that. There
Wow,
we go. Mr. Nate says he's ready to go. What's up, Nate? So heads up, y'all. There's the after party. There's no after party today because we're going to be diving deep into some emotional bungee jumping out here. So Mr. James Gable, the uncommon communicator, is scheduling a Zoom. So if y'all could hit him up in the chat and figure that out, that would be amazing. Oh, look at this. We got Miss Sarah Strand
Good morning,
from
Sarah.
Minnesota. Justin, what's up, Justin? I got to go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go.
I got to hang out with them yesterday
And I
morning.
can hang out with him in a couple of weeks.
Oh, with the
Western Carolina.
the Next Gen Builders event.
Yes.
So awesome. Nate's coming in from Cleveland. We got Miss Leslie.
Good morning, Leslie.
In from New York City. We got Mr. Hoots, DJ Hootie Hoots, who's taking care of some stuff. He's coming in from South Kakalaki. We got Mr. Terry. How you doing, Terry? Dallas. I
Yep,
think.
Dallas, for sure.
And then we got Bruce, the troublemaker. I'm joking, Bruce. What's going on, brother?
I bet you'll have some stuff to contribute today.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
James Gable, he's hosting the Zoom after party, so hit him up so you can be a part of that. Then we got Miss Amy Olmedo. Good morning, Amy. How are you? And so we're in Oklahoma. How was the drive to Oklahoma, Cindy?
Oh, it was great. A little bit of tornado warnings today. I made it.
Oh,
It went
man.
all around me, so it was wonderful.
Oh man, that's good. Cindy made what would you say, like an 8-hour drive to get
7
here?
hours.
Seven hours.
Yeah.
Like totally dedicated. Not really knowing what to expect. So we're
It's
gonna
been wonderful.
look at that. We got Mr. Bradley coming in from Reno. The Nappy Roots say it's going to be a good day. 10-4 on that. So, Jen, what are we talking about today?
Well, first, can we make sure that everybody who's on here, if you are not connected to Cindy Becerra, make sure that you get connected to her because she's amazing and we're going to blow her up. She doesn't know it yet, but we're going to blow her up.
Don't tell her.
Yeah,
Don't tell her.
yes. So, but we're going to love on her and connect with her, but also celebrate her. So I'm super excited that she's here with us. So what we're talking about today. So the telephone game. So this is, we all know how our topics come up, like that we don't really have a plan. Jesse doesn't have a plan. And then we have these amazing after party conversations. And in the after party, we get to sit and listen mainly and our tribe gets to talk and share and really contribute and collaborate and stuff like that. And 2 weeks ago, in one of the after party conversations, I think what was the word you used, Jesse?
Delay. No, cascading delay.
Cascading delay of change.
Yep.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're impacting change, or when we're implementing change, or when we're communicating change within a firm, or even at a project, and then how does that trickle down, and how does that start one place, and then after multiple conversations that actually get to the person putting the work in place, or whoever that person is that's actually going to be doing it, how did it get discombobulated? There we go. That's what we're going to talk about.
Discombobulation. That is on top of the order today. So we got Mr. Chief Marketeer, Steve Martin. Hey, Steve, you recognize anybody in here? No, my makeup is always perfect, Steve. Jeez, come on, man. And we got dude, Adam Hoot says, welcome, Miss Cindy, wants to be here. We're so bad. Can't wait to attend one of these reciprocal propulsion events. Well, do we have another one coming up?
Oh, we do, coming up in June.
The weekend of June 23rd.
In
San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
And I'm cheating. Accidentally, it just worked out that we'll have the reciprocal propulsion that weekend immediately after my book release party. The first book is going to be happening that Friday, which is June 23rd. And then after that, whoever's willing and crazy.
So you scheduled an amazing launch celebration party right after you launch your book.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, I mean, that to me, that seems like that is efficient.
Yeah.
You're getting rid of any waste.
You know, every time I launch a book, it's just that's the way you're supposed to do things. You never want to release a book before the final edits are complete.
Or you tell people you're going to have it done, and then 6 months later you put an edition out there that still needs edits, and then you put another one out like that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's just how showing people what PDCA looks like.
Yes.
Practice what you preach.
I love it. So yeah, June 23rd, y'all. Look at Buddy Brumley.
Oh, he made it.
He says, dang it. And then we got Mr. Andrew Ansputch coming in from South Carolina. That's it?
He's new.
He's new. What's up, Andrew? Thanks for joining. I think I'm connected to him. Folks, if you don't know Andrew, hit him up on LinkedIn, give him the likes, the follows. Andrew, thank you, my friend, for supporting and being here.
And typing and putting your name
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
We know there's some people out there that aren't quite ready to do that yet, but when you do take that jump, you got a lot of people around you that want to love on you. So yes.
Yes. It's okay. It won't hurt.
Nope.
Buddy says we're gonna need.
We already know.
Yep.
We've already identified that conversation.
Oh yeah. Oh, so Andrew's been here before.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Keep coming back, my
Yes.
friend. And still attack Andrew.
Yes,
Give him
yes,
likes
yes.
and follows and all this stuff. Adam is threatening to be there in San Antonio.
Okay, we'll
so
see.
We'll see. Come on, baby. Come on, big daddy. We're gonna have some fun. Okay. So telephone game. Now, you talked about in the after party, and it was Dominic Demarais who used the words cascading delay. And we were talking about, the last conversation was about the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And, why are people on the fence? How do you break down the fence? And I think in the after party, for me, is like, okay, the fence isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a place to let me watch before I jump in. And so it could be bad, it could be neutral, it could be good. That's the takeaway for me. But in the conversation, this idea of the cascading delay came up. And so there was a couple of things that ran through my head. One was the way energy or excitement dissolves on its way to the actual implementation of the idea. So y'all may be surprised by this, but in Jesse Land, every idea I have is brilliant. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be super impactful and it's going to be fun. And then when I share it with somebody, they look at me like, what in the hell are you thinking? Right. And so that's a very short cycle, but
that's every conversation we have. Go ahead.
So for me, that's a very basic example of the dissipation of excitement. And sometimes there's multiple layers to that. And it's okay. I think Steve Turner with Bring Back the Trades, this came up during the 5S live streams, where he was talking. I think he shared that he gets frustrated where people aren't as excited about Bring Back the Trades that he is. And I feel that, but at the same time, I have to ask myself, am I as excited as other people's stuff? And the answer is no. I think, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but I'm not excited about it. And so maybe that's the question is, how do you deal with being super excited about this idea that you've been crafting and creating and tinkering with? And then when you present it, they're like, oh, okay, thanks for the glass of warm water.
Mhm.
How does that feel?
How does that feel, Cindy?
A little frustrating.
Have you experienced that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, it's learning to get more people on your side, even as you're building something. That definitely helps kind of curb that a little bit to where it's not, you don't feel like you're going in it alone.
I mean, I think from our conversations already, and some more I'm sure we're going to have, is when I think about the telephone game, what you just said, Jesse, and you explained it, there's two different perspectives. There's that internal perspective of your excitement. And then as it continues to, you're talking to more people, what's inside you starts getting minimized because of the lack of buy-in, but also externally from an organizational perspective, which is a lot of where I have a lot of experience on. You're rolling out a new initiative, or you're rolling out something, or this was the plan. This is what we're going to do from leadership and things like that. And then as it gets communicated, as it gets put out into the projects and different things like that, what we maybe originally thought was going to be this is going to change the world, into actually putting it in place and how it impacts people's work. There's a disconnect there, or what was spoken here, because they're not the ones in there putting the work in place. Like, how did that change to where now we're doing change to somebody? And I think, to me, that I see that a lot is if I come in and I'm telling people this will make your job better. This will be better for you. I'm doing change to somebody. And if they were not part of that conversation and they were not part of the change, then we're not going to get the results that possibly we could, because we are looking at it from a top-down perspective instead of it being something that we are doing together. And so those are things that I've experienced from the organizational perspective.
Yeah, it's I think you nailed it, right? It's like doing it to somebody versus doing it with somebody is a very, very different thing. So like the conversations that we've been having since yesterday. By the way, y'all, these two ladies forced me to eat like delicious dessert yesterday.
There was no arm twisting, zero.
I have bruises, y'all. Like, I have bruises. I can show y'all later.
Sharing is caring, though.
Yes.
We got to try a little bit of everything.
Yes, we did. We had churros,
Flan.
flan, and then cheesecake wrapped in tortillas, deep fried.
With strawberries on top.
With strawberries, yes. Anyhow, so like the doing it to people is, I think, here I see that happen, and again, it's kind of like the cascading delay. The organization decides to launch this initiative, and it's always right. We want it to serve the business, we want it to serve the people, and we'll just say the sponsor of the idea or the initiative has best intentions in mind. And then that gets communicated to the next layer of the organization. This is where the telephone game comes in, right? And then that layer of the organization kind of contorts it a little bit, or takes what they understood and shares it to the next level. And then it finally gets to the people out there that are doing the work, or that it's impacting directly. And it started with this altruistic movement to serve people. But by the time it gets over here, it becomes thou shalt. Just do it. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh my gosh. Go ahead, Cindy. What about you? I'm gonna play the referee today. He's gonna try to deflect, and we're gonna try to bring Cindy into the conversation.
Just a little bit. Yeah, it's what I think is interesting is like the communication. Like, if you don't have, as that communication starts to go, the process starts to go through, when you have different levels of communication, how each person will, only communicate certain portions of the importance of something, so that, creates more problems as it continues to go through.
Because we're dealing with people,
And everybody has a different level and a different comfort level and importance and things like that.
And I want to add to that, and what I've experienced is sometimes when it starts going from one person to another, it gets a little murky as who gets credit
Oh,
And from that perspective, then changes the communication, the conversations, how people show up and talk about it, because then it becomes, this was this person's idea, or this was this person's charge. And so, Jesse, what do you think about that?
Oh, the credit. We're gonna have to come back to credit.
Yes.
Because there's a lot there.
Yes.
I just want to recognize Steve Martin. He agrees with every one of my ideas. It's
Oh
brilliant.
God, don't feed him. Come
We'll wear it
on,
on a
Steve.
t-shirt.
Don't do that.
Thank you, Steve. Love you, my brother. But not seriously. So Nate, I'm going to go Nate's comments, and then we'll go to Mr. Bradley, because I think these are good things for the tribe out there to like consider when you're dealing with these types of things. So Nate says, getting people ready to be excited can help them feel your excitement over an idea.
That's my approach on everything.
Right? So like you gotta till the soil, till the ground, so that there's a fancy Japanese word that addresses that. But how do you create the conditions so that when it's released, people are like, yeah, like it makes sense.
I say cultivate.
Cultivate, thank you. Yeah, cultivate. That's a really good word.
Yes.
And he said you may need to speak in a different language for them to get excited. How do you know how to tweak the language to help people get excited?
I'm gonna go. You go.
I was gonna say, asking better questions.
Ooh,
Like learning to find, like, as you ask questions, like, are those questions giving you direction? Because that helps you get more clarity, and then you can figure out what are they not understanding versus just asking the same question over and over again, expecting the same result.
Well, asking questions and listening.
Mhm.
That's what I just heard. And for me, it's watching nonverbal communication.
That too.
Like being somebody that facilitates a lot of meetings and a lot of, conversations, whether we're presenting something or we're getting feedback, watching the room and reading the room and engaging every person in the room. Nate, that's a perfect point, is that how are you communicating it? How are you using different languages, but not just languages as in, Spanish or English, but like, how are you connecting to people? And there's going to be people that need different things, whether it's visual, but whether it's they need to be hands-on doing stuff, or, or just they're able to kind of have that interaction, verbally. But I know just when I facilitate, it's so easy to watch the room, and you can see someone that maybe wants to say something, but they're not contributing, or you can see someone that's like, yeah, I'm ready to get out of this meeting. I mean, you can see it. And if you're paying attention to those things, the way you're communicating and the way you're pulling them in is going to help your buy-in.
And in my current role, so I work remotely. So a lot of the things that I have to deal with is on the phone, virtually. So learning, like it's taught me a lot about learning how to read people's tone, voice on the phone, and same thing virtually, because it's very different when you have people in front of you than when you have so much distance in front of you.
But it's still possible.
Yes, it is possible.
It's 100% possible.
It definitely requires you to grow. Like it's taught me to grow a lot in my communication styles.
Nice.
Definitely.
Oh man. Ooh,
Okay, what else?
So Bradley says, sporadic comment, that's really on point. Says getting past the endless conversation towards progress relies on someone seeing the step ahead. Right? Just one step. Just because you have a good idea doesn't mean the other folks don't have a good chance to provide input. And tailor that idea in a way that encourages others to think abnormally.
Hashtag abnormal. I love it. No, I love that, Bradley, because I think when we forget sometimes, and this is Jesse's superpower, is how do we get people to jump and just be in that space, but not having it all the way thought out. Understanding that it's a PDCA process and that we are continually going to adjust it as we go. And then are you jumping in, trying something in your mind and being open to what you're hearing and what you're seeing and the feedback? Because sometimes when you do it, the feedback you're going to get is this sucks, or this is not going to work. And it doesn't mean you have to just throw it away. But at that point, are you engaging and asking and really understanding why it's not working or what's going on there? Who's giving you the feedback? And then what are you doing to adjust? If you're not open to those things, then when we talk about the telephone game and how things can get distorted, by the time it's somewhere going to be implemented, people are going to hate you.
Yes. And Justin, like right on it, right? It says cheat code, invite somebody to try it with you.
Yes.
And then let the results
Mhm.
guide the next step. I mean, I think like, so there's a thread through all of this. And it's, if you want to deploy change, you got to do it together.
Get people on your side.
Get people on your side. Because if not, we feel the pain that we feel.
Oh, and there's Nate right there. Bam.
Memo washing, that's the word, right? Prepping the roots and soil for moving the plant, tilling the ground, getting ready, getting people prepared for this change, this initiative.
We don't have to know everything. We have a tribe that knows everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Together.
I'm telling
That's
you.
it. We do it together. Brad adds, it sucks. Okay, good. What you got? Like, what's your, like, come on, this. And that's a hard thing. So here's a thought, and I've done it before, and it was Wes Baker that really pissed me off in a good way, because I was drafting something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was really important because it was going to contribute to a bigger thing. And so I spent all this time like thinking and researching and crafting the perfect white paper. And like, I finally like, it's perfect. I said, here we go. And he looks at it, he's like, oh, that's pretty good. Well, what about this? I'm like, shit, man, like, why didn't you tell me that? You know? But my takeaway was, I spent all this time researching, trying to anticipate every possible question he could have, and putting all of that into this thing. I never knew what questions he would have. Like the stuff that I was obsessed with, he didn't care about. He cared about this other stuff. The only way I found out was putting it in front of him. So one, tribe, if you've ever done that, let us know in the comments, throw a thumbs down or something like, yeah, I know that life. But what I learned from that is like, oh, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have shape. And so from then forward, it's like, okay, idea, request, this is my understanding of it, is what I understood. Does it meet the request? Yes. Am I proud of it? Yes. Is it actionable? Yes. Boom. Send it, because it's going to go through a cycle of massaging and tinkering and poking, and I have to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. And the pain that I had experienced the last time was gone. It didn't happen anymore. What's your cheat code, Jennifer Lacey?
Well, and everything I guess my takeaway from what you said is, and we talk about this a lot, the uncommunicated expectations. And for me, there's a lot of times where in my mind, I think I know what someone's asking for, or in my mind, I think I know what will help. But if I've not asked, what's the why, what's the goal, what's the purpose, what is the value? If I've not asked those things and I just go in with my solution, the things that are not that are not going to be incorporated into it are going to, one, delay it, and two, get a lot more maybe opinions on what's working and what's not. And again, you and I talk a lot about waste and just what non-value added things like that. Are we doing that with just our efforts and our time? Like we look at that on the job side and, we look at all the different types of waste, but are we looking at all the time, like you're putting all this time into this white paper and then you give it, and then now you're having to go back and do it. Now there's iterations there that are needed, but are we doing something and trying to get it so perfect that we've put the waste of time that now we're getting people's feedback, we're getting people's input, and we're having to go back and do it. Just you're the king of, let's just try it. Let's just throw it out there. Let's just have an idea. And then let's get feedback and see what direction it can go. That's scary. It's super scary. Every time I show up with you, I feel like I experience that. But we've also, by doing it that way, we've continued to move it down the road. We've continued to have people show up and contribute and know, like, just you and I couldn't do this by ourselves.
100%.
I mean, like, there's no way that we know that every time, every live stream topic, every after party, all the things, emotional bungee jumping, all the things that we're doing, it is because of us throwing an idea out there and then listening and letting other people contribute to what's going to provide value to them.
Yep. Yep. Bradley summed it up, and officially that you can't steal that one. He says hashtag integrate the iterations. And so like, how do you, like, that sounds very technical, but how do I integrate the iteration? Have an idea, release it to the world, receive the feedback, incorporate the feedback. It's the show up, receive, reflect, reciprocate. Inviting people in. The outcome of that, and here's the awesome thing, and like the counterintuitive thing, is the end is not defined. It's super unclear. It's super foggy. So that's kind of like, well, why the hell are we going to do this? Are we going to be wasting, the 8 waste while we do this? Possibly, sure. So the outcome is undefined. I can't define it. I don't know for sure where it's going to be. I can't really measure. What are the measurables? What's the ROI? Like, I don't freaking know, bro. Like, I don't know. But by doing that, to find 2 things out real quick. Stupid idea. Nobody cares. Okay, kill it. Or holy moly, this is impacting people in a deep and meaningful way.
You have any experience with that, Jesse? Just showing up and doing something and seeing it?
What I do all the time. People like, man, did you plan that? Yeah, absolutely. It's in my 900-year plan. No, just show up to serve, and it kind of works out.
Well, and if you realize it too, even those ideas, they don't all necessarily go to waste, because at some point you might come back to it. It just will be at a different time.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Tell us, Jesse, tell us.
Well, I mean, the reciprocal, a lot of the things. So Lean in Love, the book Lean in Love.
Oh yeah, that's a great example.
Right? I had the letters. It was 3 years of me. I knew the letters were going to be powerful. It's just not on me, but for other people. And I would talk to people and I say, hey man, what do you think about it? Some people are like, oh my God, like I need that. Okay, well here, let me send it to you. Lots of people I would show them to, and they're like, oh yeah, you should upload that, or you should, like, yeah. And then some people are like, you're stupid. Like, is that all you ever think about? Like, yeah, kind of. And so it was just kind of putting it out there and seeing how people responded and letting it kind of develop. Like, that didn't feel right. And then live stream. Let's do a live stream. That turned into this. To know, like, here we are.
We didn't exist until you just said, hey, dude, let's do these live streams about these letters.
Yeah. And then the book, no, I didn't. I was writing another book when
I came in and I just shanked it.
People are responding. Oh, okay. And so again, like, that is a perfect example of an idea I didn't know where it was going to end. I didn't know it was going to bring us to Oklahoma to do freaking right? Like, but that's what happened. And because of the tribe, right? The tribe has come in and contributed and helped, and we respond. And so it's like this dance of integrating the iterations, like Bradley said, like, okay, what is it? Let's put it out there, get some feedback, adjust, put it back out there. And it's just this cycle of, okay, what does it look like? How does it feel? How do we respond? And continue to do that. I think there's also an important element of the duration of the feedback loop, right? Like, it's super short. We have a live stream, we have an after party, 2 weeks later, we have a thing. It's not like over a month. And I think maybe, back to the telephone game and the cascading delay, the feedback loops aren't necessarily designed in. And if they are, it's a quarterly meeting, maybe a monthly meeting. And so maybe, I don't know, what do y'all think out there is, maybe it's a big thing that we're overlooking in terms of like deploying change and communicating throughout the organization, is the feedback loop. Is it not tight? And one, I'm pretty sure it's absent. Fine. But 2, how do you tighten it up? How can you make shorter cycles? What do y'all think about that?
Well, 2 thoughts for that, and they may be future live streams. But is number 1, taking into account the feedback and that you don't have to react to every piece of it.
Ooh.
So there's that, in that we need to make sure that when people give opinions, because everyone is allowed their opinion, You know, sometimes we get caught up in it. We get our feelings hurt, or we feel like that's not right. I am allowed my opinion. You are allowed your opinion. We may not agree, and that's okay. We need to acknowledge those things. And the other is because that's that knee-jerk reaction. That of somebody says we need this, let's go ahead and make that adjustment. Somebody says we need this, we make that adjustment, and all of a sudden we're so far off track of where we started because we were trying to make everybody happy. And sometimes that's just not going to happen. And the other part is in that feedback loop, you need a moment of stabilization. And that doesn't mean that we're gonna implement this for a year and then we're gonna come back and see what we can do. But have that moment of, okay, we see the feedback, we have received it, we're gonna make some changes. Now let's deploy it, and then let's allow for some stabilization with the new adjustments, and then get more feedback. So the loop needs to continually happen, but we need to make sure that we're not just change, and you're so much changing that no one can have a moment of like, is this going to work or not? So those are my two thoughts.
Stabilization, super. You know, it's like I've interviewed a guy, super smart guy. He's like, okay, if you shoot a bow and like the arrow and you hit the bullseye, what's the next step? Naturally, everybody in the room said, well, get further away from the bullseye, right? Make the challenge harder. He's like, okay, what about do it 2 times?
What?
Right? Because our nature is like, oh, I did it. I did a 5K. I'm signing up for a marathon, right? Which is a huge leap. It could have been a fluke that I hit the bullseye. Can I do it again?
That's what my brother says. The clock's right twice a day, even if it has no batteries in it.
Exactly. So so if we think of it, for me, when you're talking about stabilization, that's where it lands. Like, okay, we did it. This was the target. These were the things we were going to do. We did it. It was awesome. Let's expand, right? Let's release the Kraken and like all the stuff. Like, no. Do it again.
Yes.
And understand not only that you hit your targets and your outcomes, but back to Nimawashi, what are the conditions that are necessary for that thing to take hold and happen? Like the initiative is important, but the conditions are more important, because if you don't have the right conditions, it doesn't matter what the initiative is, it ain't gonna happen. Okay, sorry.
Lots of comments.
Lots of comments. So we got Mr. Andrew in question. We got a lot of questions for the groups, and you're going to hit on that. So buy-in from change and his experience is better accepted when leadership is engaged. That's a big, just those 3 words, that's a big deal. And there's a lot there. In helping change implementation, right? Like deploying some sweat equity, there's high value in that. Also, it allows for leadership to see the change from the tactical level to include challenges. So in my head, I've worked with different people that they have a change idea. They want me to lead it for them. So I'll lead it for them. And then I'm reporting back to them of what's going on. That happens. I think that probably happens more often than not. Mm-hmm. And that makes it difficult because I don't have the authority and influence that wiener has. And so I'm working off of influence. I don't have authority. And so that's a challenge. And the report gets diluted, right? The pain or the issues that people are dealing with is softened up, or like they didn't see it, they didn't experience it. And so I think Andrew's talking about is like, okay, but if they go hand in hand, let's go do this thing. Like, oh, my description of the problem may be so factual that you don't even get to see like how much it really sucked. And so when you're there side by side, this is what I'm taking from your comment, Andrew. So thank you for that. So Cindy, when you're dealing with change and like just in general, how awesome would it be for the leader or leadership to be there, like to feel and experience the implementation of it?
It would help out a lot, because then they understand why it takes as long as it does, or why it's important to know all the facts up front. So like you said, you can go at it together.
Yeah.
You know, not only the implementation part, but just the planning process. I mean, everything moves faster when you have people going at it together versus against each other.
Because it creates this like against thing. Like, wait a minute,
resistance.
You don't understand. Well, you're making excuses. Like, no, we're talking about two different realities.
And it could just be miscommunication. You're seeing one thing and they're seeing another thing. And until you get on the same page, then you can move forward.
Good. Let's get in the same book at least. Jeez. Mr. Aaron Gibson, what's up? Just up to level up, man. Coming in from Canada. What's up, Aaron, man? Thank you for supporting us, my friend. So Justin has some bombs here. He says, we got to recognize the layers of benefits for everyone involved. Which, yeah, right. Telling a laborer that this new initiative will help the bottom line ain't gonna get them excited. Why would it?
Right.
Telling a laborer this idea may make their work easier to say they aren't as sore at the end of the day will likely get them more excited. Oh, that's yes! What a coincidence.
Did you plan that?
I did it. That's all. Thank you, brother. I had it ready. It was so long. But how do we contextualize the value? Right? Like, and I'm stealing this one from Hal Maycomer, George Hunt, when we did the systems thinking class. And Adam, if you need to be listening, you already know there's posts out there, comments on LinkedIn, like saying, what's up, bro? When are we doing the next one? We're waiting on you. Anyways, back to the point.
I want in on that.
Oh,
it's like next level.
It's awesome. So awesome. The biggest takeaway I had from that one, I ended up reading the book, The Dance of Change. Really good book. But the biggest thing I took away from that is 4 ideas around change. And when we're deploying big change, there's 3 things that need to be apparent in the messaging, in the design, like all the way through. And one is, what is the business gain? Which we're all really good at that. And then we stop there. Why does change die? Because it's missing the other element. So another element is, what is the social impact? Is there social benefit for me to be a part of this change? Or am I going to be the suck up teacher's pet because I'm a part of this change? If I'm seen as the suck up teacher's pet, there's no social benefit for me.
In fact, it's a detriment.
It's a detriment. The third is personal gain. And I think we miss it, but when I say we, I'm talking about organizations. I think we miss that because when we think of personal gain, it's like, well, you get paid on Friday. And if you just keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get a promotion. Like, no. Personal gain, like, how is this going to make my life better right now, or at least within a week? Like, not career. Like, how the hell is this going to make my life better? So we can communicate the business impact, the social impact, and the personal impact in terms of gain, and design that into the change. Now it's got legs. And then you pointed to the fourth thing that I took from it was the detracting conditions, because they're there, right? And right now, and I'm going to go back to what one of the arrangements of words is, like leadership support or leadership involved, leadership. That can be a detracting condition. And it's easy to say leaders need to be involved. They just don't want them to be supportive. But here's our problem, or our gap, when we're complaining about those leaders. How good are we at being explicit about what that engagement looks like, or about what that support action is? What do you think about that?
Well, what I took from what you just said was, we need to make sure we don't forget that people can be detractors. And my experience is sometimes you have great plan, great communication, and we're going to roll it out, what that looks like. But if you have people out there that are, one, not communicating it the way it needs to be, or they're over communicating something that gets a little bit more selfish, or a little bit more, they're in it for their own gain, and they're not hitting those 4 things that you hit when you were talking, or the 3 things you were talking about, then even though you have a great plan, and even you have leadership buy-in, you have the support, but you can't have people that will detract and take away from it, that will derail the progress. And, and again, everyone's able to, you have people that jump in at different places and they get excited about different things. But if you're not super aware of those things and you're not taking that into consideration as you're continually rolling it out, it can absolutely divide people.
And I like the idea of balancing all of those different elements together, because I think it's easy with egos and other things like that to get focused on what was the last thing that you were saying about how it reflects on you, like what's the personal gain that you get. Some people get really caught up in that, and then they forget how it's going to affect other people, how it's going to affect leadership, or how you get too siloed into one, and that you become your own problem in a way.
100%, because we're human. I'm worried about my own bones, and there's another thing, like leading change is risk, because you can piss some people off. So people ain't gonna like you. I don't like to change. I love to witness other people going through change, but I don't want to change my role. And it's like, I think everybody's like this way, which is why articulating the personal gain is powerful, because like, okay, now there's an exchange, meaning I'm going to go through the pain, however big that is, of learning something new, of doing something differently, of getting out of my comfort zone. But they're telling me this is going to be the gain for me. So now, like, okay, now there's an exchange, whereas you just need to change because it's going to be better. It's going to optimize the outcome. Like, bullshit, I don't want to do that. Like, how does that help me? So another thing, back to like the leadership support thing, and I luckily kind of just fell upon this. I was leading a group of change leaders, and the number one problem always came up: leadership support. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's kind of like clean, meaning it's super relative. Like right now, if you ask me if my truck's clean, yes. But if you looked at my truck, you may think it's not, right? Like it's different. And so leadership support is relative. And so what the hell does that mean? And so what I started, I kind of said, well, let me run an experiment. And when I was meeting with executives, I would be very clear, like, what I need from you, I need you to show your support in this way. I need you to send the calendar invite. Here's the body of, like, all the information needs to be in it, but I need the invite to come from you, so that people understand that this is coming, this is your support. Really? Like, yeah, copy paste. Here's the body of the email. Here's the list of the people that need to be in it. I just need it to come from your inbox. That's actionable. That's very clear. Instead of saying, I really need your support, because you know what executive is thinking? I approved it. There's my support. And so we're not getting clear enough on what leadership support needs to look like. And I will say, get extra granular and say, for this situation, this week, this day, this is what I need you to do. And you know, I've never had any executive say, I'm not doing that. They're like, oh, good, easy. I'll make the call.
You make their job easier.
Make it easier. What do you think?
Yes. And it's words, it's language. And we talk about that a lot and how we use those words. And so we talk about leadership support, and actually it was something this morning that I commented on LinkedIn, is we talk about leadership support. I've changed the word, because like you said, when we talk about support, yes, I support this, but I can do that from the outside. I can support it. I can say, yes, I agree with it. So I now use leadership buy-in as my language. And so you can support something from the outside. If I'm bought into it, I am engaged with it. And so I'm bought into it to the point to where people see my engagement, they see where I touch it, they see where it impacts my life and how it's going to impact their life. That the way that they engage in that change will show buy-in or show resistance. And so support, you can sit there and go, yes, I agree with that from the outside, and never touch it. And I've even seen people that I support it by getting out of the way and letting other people do it. That is not buy-in. And so, and again, and within my own firm, like that language change, leadership buy-in. So it's not just them from a leadership perspective saying, yes, we support it. They are engaged in it. They are the ones that are having the conversations. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer.
Totally. And Leslie says, yep, uncommunicated expectations. They're too common, 100%. We assume that others hear the thoughts in our head, and we need to state our expectations out loud. Like for real, right? They chat GPT, AI, and I'm like, come on, guys. Like, when are y'all going to create the thing that helps you understand? Like, don't listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm thinking, please. Come on, get to it.
I think sometimes I think you walk around and you like think your life's a comic strip where like everyone you walk around and they see these thought bubbles around you. I'm like, Jesse, nobody else sees that but you.
Yes. And like, I'm aware. And so here's the other thing, because I'm just kind of messy. I just do whatever. Like a lot of people have helped me become aware, right? Like they will tell me like, bro, like what you're thinking and what you're saying, they're not connecting. There's a disconnect, right? And thank you, right? So Miss Amy, right? She says the only response that is required after feedback is thank you. And then I can decide what I'm going to do with the damn thing. Like I don't have to, not everybody gets a vote. There are some people that like, oh, that's meaningful. And actually it's something that that I'm working on. Let me take that in. And there are some feedback like, oh, thank you. And that's it. That feedback's there.
You don't have to react to everything.
We don't have to react to everything.
You don't have to make changes. You don't have to again, everyone's allowed their opinions and like someone giving you feedback, as soon as you get defensive, as soon as you attack, as soon as you start justifying why their opinion's wrong, there's a good chance you'll never get it again. And if you want to continue to get feedback throughout a process, you can't shut it down at the beginning.
That's so true. I've done that and it's come back to bite me. So I know, I learned the hard way.
Yeah. And look, see, Andrew says, you got it. Thanks for that, mind reader. Because I don't understand why y'all can't do it. Because I can.
That is not what he's saying.
That's exactly, yes, that's exactly what he's saying. Thank you, Andrew. Love you, brother.
And that mind reader mindset can be very dangerous too, because you keep going, and next thing you know, you've left everybody behind. Because you're just like, well,
you pissed everybody off.
Yeah, and you pissed everybody off, and you're like, well, I thought that's what you wanted. No. But you didn't ask any questions.
I've got a perfect example. So I'm gonna hand the baton over to y'all, and I got props.
Oh.
So Adam says he's so happy he can't see.
We've seen some videos that we're super happy. We don't know what was there before he created the videos.
But so Bradley brings a really good point here. And so I'm gonna leave it to y'all and I'll be right back. And this is around the mind telepathy, mind reading thing. Bradley says, going back to telephoning, telegraph it. Develop a 10-minute phone rant into a 10-second presentation of intent. Y'all tear that one apart. I'll be right back.
Yes. So, nope. Well, one, I love the idea of the telegraphing piece because that's a little bit of forethought before reacting. And I know when we talk about change and we talk about getting maybe feedback that we're not super excited about, and you and I just talked about this, and we can talk about it again, but is sometimes our reaction to those things is defensive. And I love the idea, Bradley, of like, just, and I do this a lot, just talk something out. And this is what I would say, and this is what I would say, and this is what I would say, and then get it to a point to where this is what makes it clear. I love that. But can we talk about feedback? I want to go back to Amy's on just when we say thank you. Have you ever had feedback where when they said it to you, you were just like, what do you mean? Has someone ever given you feedback like that?
Yeah, sometimes my words can be too harsh.
Okay.
So learning how to adapt.
Okay.
Adapting to, I guess, the way I respond or the way even, the feedback that I give or the feedback that I receive.
Yep. and so I've, in our conversation, I will, and I probably mentioned this on a previous live stream, but I'm going to mention it again because I think it's relevant, is I've been in a setting with a lot of amazing change leaders, like people that are, I mean, just changing the world within my company. And feedback I got was, Jennifer, you're just mean. And taking that at face value, I'm really not a mean person, but like whatever made that person feel that way, it was because of how I showed up, how I reacted, maybe my harshness or what I was saying, because I was passionate about something. I mean, I can make all these justifications, but by him saying that and me acknowledging and appreciating the feedback, it allowed me to stop and really reflect on how I engage, even though it may not be, and we've said it, like, you're not going to go in intentionally and be like, I don't care what somebody thinks, but feedback allows us to stop and reflect and go, okay, this person feels this way. Are they the only person that feels this way? Because we also want to continue to grow and improve and get better. And we can't do that all by ourselves. I'm just going to tell you that. We cannot, Jesse may think he can, but he can't. All by himself, sitting in a room and every day just, this is going to make me better, this is going to make me better. And we cannot do that by ourselves. It's going to take the people around us to help us with that. And if you have the right counsel or the people that around you that you can be real with and you can have real talk with, that is what's going to make us better. If we get to pick and choose the people that say the nice, sweet things, and then we get to discount the people that say the yucky kind of, things that don't make us feel good, then we're not going to grow and we're not going to improve.
And it's having that level of self-awareness too, where you can be real with yourself and say, well, does this make sense? Like, is it am I hearing the same thing from different people, not just one person?
The whispers.
Yes.
So, and then being real with yourself, like if people say like, I'm intimidating, well, why is that? Being able to tap into people around you, even people that you're getting to know, like you guys, and say, well, what do you think? These are things I'm hearing from other people. Can we figure out if this is true or not? Because sometimes when you only see yourself from so many angles.
Yes.
So having that and asking those questions and just being vulnerable yourself and just saying, getting that feedback and saying, is this right?
The vulnerability, there's a lot of stuff there. Y'all are lucky you can't read my thought bubbles right now. In my head right now, and it may change, vulnerability is where creation is born. And so, just think about that. The absence of so if vulnerability is where creation is born, what's the absence of vulnerability?
Stagnation.
Right? Just think about that, y'all, and maybe we'll have a fans only conversation about diving deeper into that.
You read my mind, though. That was the exact word I was thinking of.
And so Ian, what's up, Ian?
Yes. Have you recovered from the emotional bungee jumping experience?
Vulnerable man,
Yes.
right there. Vulnerable leader. Amazing. Love you, brother. He says, and this again, confirmation that Jesse's right. Said you would be surprised that most leaders need to be shown how to support you. Managing up is a critical part of our own leadership and coaching individuals to understand how they can support and show their engagement.
Yes, because a lot of us in this space are change leaders and are people in our companies that are doing things that no one's done before and are leading things that the path hasn't been paved. So if you are sitting around waiting for someone to direct you into a place that doesn't exist, that's not the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's new. You're leading it, so help people like Jerry Maguire. Help me, help you. Gotta help them. We gotta show them the way. We gotta lend a hand out there. Here's another one. James Gable says, yes, right. Every idea is a step in the right direction to the best idea.
Yes.
And I'll add, if you share it.
cannot stay inside your head.
It cannot stay inside your head. And you were talking about like, if I stay isolated in Jesse land and this is what I need to improve on, this is what I need to work on. I'm not going to say that there's no improvement, but the problem is the only improvement is for me.
And from you.
And from me. And does that help me better serve? Yes, me.
If you're serving yourself.
If I'm serving
yes.
myself. And I think that's a problem or something that the tribe, and especially like lean construction people, we understand value. Like identify customer value. Okay, that's a different thing. Like, how do I deliver customer value to the customer? That's what I'm working on. I'm going to deliver value to the customer. But what you don't realize is you've decided that you're the customer.
Well, an easy way for me, an analogy is making a meal for someone. Okay, so you could have a meal that like it is amazing, got the flavors, the spices, everything about it is
like my beans.
You're about to blow. I mean, again, it will change somebody's world. Maybe even give them a little tear when they take a bite of it. But if you have not at any point had some conversation with the people that are going to be eating it, you don't know what they're allergic to. You don't know what's going to cause their stomach to jack up. You don't know all the things that could completely derail the end result of that meal, because it was about you and what you could provide and what you can produce. And in the end result, from your perspective, it's perfect. Yet the other person could, again, look at it and go, that's great, but I can't even eat that.
Which you better not say when we go down to these beans that I made. But yeah, so Leslie she's laughing at the idea about my thought, right? And so back to, like the communication, like the gaps in the communication, meaning I gave a message, they understood my message, and then we find out after the fact, like, oh shit, that's not. And so there's an ownership element for the messenger. And so I got a list of a grocery list, and on the grocery list, it said, get a bag of potatoes.
So before we have any visuals, think about in your mind, if I sent you to the store to get a bag of potatoes, what that would look like. Okay, go do that.
Yep. So I got a bag of potatoes, and I don't understand the problem, because I was told to get a bag of potatoes, and I had two ladies here like, what the, like, I guess I missed the assignment. The request, I got written proof, and here's physical evidence that I fulfilled the ask. So what's funny?
Because you didn't have any idea what we were going to use the potatoes for, and what the menu item was, and how the size of the potatoes mattered. Just gonna say
Size matters. So it's
And so the other like super hilarious part is when I was checking out at the grocery store, the ladies were like, "You're making a stew?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Well, why did you get those potatoes?" Like, I don't know. It's on the list, bag of potatoes. And they look at each other like, "Oh, he'll be back." Like everybody knew it. I'm like, what is it that everybody knows? I don't understand. And so, my part of the truth here is that the ask wasn't clear, right? That is true. Now, Aaron adds, it's also the responsibility of people to ask for clarity.
Oh, yes.
Right? If they don't understand, or your manager should be able to read you enough to see that there is more explanation or a different approach to delivering the information.
Yes, and you're really good at that.
Yeah, when I need information, right? But on this guy, like, I'm going to the freaking grocery store, sack of potatoes, boom, we got them. So we're gonna have like a mini something, whatever the potatoes were for. You have a mini version of it.
And I think there's such a big element of consideration, like self-consideration, other consideration, where if you do not have that, you'll just go buy whatever you think, right? But if you're considering other people and you say, well, hey, I guess I should figure out what do they want, or what are we making? Because this isn't even my recipe. So if you take that consideration and you make that phone call and say, hey, what are we going to make with this? But if you don't do that, not that I'm saying that you're not a considerate person, but it's like, if you don't do that, then that's how you start to have other problems.
But I've also learned to hang out with Jesse enough to know that something could probably go sideways. So I see the bag and I'm like, we'll make it work. I got another idea. Let's just go.
We adapt.
Yeah. Well, so again, like we learned that.
Mhm.
I kind of, after the ladies were giving me a hard time, I was like, I probably should ask. Look, it'll be a great story. It'll be fun. Like let's just roll with it.
His mind reading bubbles. Just kidding.
Yeah, my mind reading bubbles were in the way. But now, on the same note, like there are things, and maybe that's also something to be aware of, because you pointed it out, Jen. There are things where I'm like, wait a minute, what do you? This is what I heard. What do you mean by that? Where's that going? So there are times that I'll dig, and then there's other times like this, that sack of potatoes, baby, done. And I don't know why I make that filter, but that's what I do. You and I, Cindy, were talking about, hey, go throw the glass in the sink, and my brother would go throw the glass in the sink because that's the way he interpreted things. But that wasn't always the case, right? If I tell him, just be yourself, he didn't just go be himself, like, because so there's just, anyways, I don't know where I was with that, but there's this weird filter that I have between, oh, no, I need to understand that at a deeper level, and screw it, right? If you're gonna make fries, McDonald's down the road, I can go get some fries, right? And we're gonna have little mini baby fries.
Those are my favorite kinds, so you're good.
You see?
It all worked out.
I knew it. Ooh, look, we got a.
What?
Oh, Janelle, what's going on? I could be better at the conference, the Advancing Construction Operational Excellence.
Awesome. Is she a blue heart?
I don't know. Janelle, you need to put a blue heart. Oh, you don't know. You don't need to.
Everybody just go love on her.
Swarm Janelle. Give her some love and support.
Yes.
Again, saying thank you after feedback can be so difficult. Even more difficult is saying, tell me more. Asking for deeper context can be very hard and very vulnerable.
Yes.
But so important to using the feedback to improve. Thank you, Jenna. And so like there's some real power there and like some real skill. And this was my experience. I had invited my crew, my team, to give me feedback. And they were all wrong, but they gave me feedback. They all agreed that what I sucked at was listening. And it hurt, like it bugged me, because I really honestly believed I was the best listener in the company. And in the moment, I was like, oh, give me examples. Tell me when I do that. But that didn't sound like I was asking for more feedback. It came across as defensive. And because of the power dynamic, like I had more official authority than they did. They're like, oh, no, never mind. Like, you're not that. I said, no. I said, you know what? Thank you. Shut your damn mouth, Jess, and just say thank you. Because I really did want to learn more, but learning how to, like what she just shared with us, is like going and cultivating or gleaning, reaping out more context of the feedback is a real skill, because I could be signaling defensiveness. And when people think I'm defensive, they're not going to give me any more feedback. So for me, like, I don't like, because I get so excited and energetic about things, I know that I need to say thank you, calm my ass down, and then come back later and like, hey man, you said XYZ, like, can we talk about that? Because I really want to understand more about it. Because when I do it in the moment, I think it's this weird thing, like, I don't want to lose people, but 100%, Janelle, thank you for sharing that with the group.
And when I was going to say, whenever you just stop at thank you, you leave that door open. Because then the next time, if they have something else, they'll just come back to you and they'll say, well, if you took it so well this time, you might take it, now I have more. Or they'll elaborate. They'll feel safer and vulnerable, that you open that vulnerability door.
Yes.
And I want to add the importance of the relationships we're building. So I just want to go down this road a little bit, because we do have people that are in spaces and will voice their opinion. Okay. But a lot of times, if you've not built or started a relationship with that person and you don't have connectivity with that person, there's a good chance they'll never say anything. or it'll be very, very dry or not kind of surface stuff, and it won't dig in. And the value of building relationships with people and having those people, Jesse calls them his counsel, but the people that are around you that, you've been able to trust and be vulnerable with and be transparent with. Because I know probably 5 or 6 years ago, let me think, make sure. Yeah. I was doing a presentation to a project team, and what was friends with the senior superintendent, and I mean, again, the manager in charge, and was helping lead an onboarding. And we got done, and we were talking, and he's like, you know what I observed? And I was like, okay. And he's like, there's times, because of like all the things you're trying to process, that you'll just fill in words from thoughts in your head as you're moving from one thought to the next. And you're doing it like you probably don't even know the words coming out of your mouth, but from someone that knows you, like it's very apparent. He goes, have you ever thought of when you're about to make a transition to just stop talking? I mean, like you could take that 1,000 different ways on, and I mean, again, I could have at that point with someone that very much I respected, and also, knew that he was trying to make me better. I could have taken that a lot of different ways. And by having the relationship with him, but also being willing to receive, and then, okay, give me an example, and having that conversation, it changed a lot of the way that I speak and present in front of people. But if I got defensive and wasn't willing to ask that second question, and want more information, like it could have halted my growth when it comes to facilitation and things like that. So like we've got to be willing to receive, but it's also those people around us that we built those relationships with that we have to trust that they're going to, I mean, Jesse loves giving feedback. And so, but being able to receive it and then ask the questions, but then who those people are, if they're just someone that we haven't built a relationship with, then we're in our minds going, where's this coming from? What's the angle and things like that. So just the value of building relationships is, everyone knows, is a superpower.
Yes. And it's easier to build relationships the more vulnerable we
Yes.
are, right? And Giselle, level-headed mind, says vulnerability equals strength because it produces growth. And so for those of us that struggle with the word vulnerable, think of courage, think of strength, because you are exposing yourself and you're trusting. There's a growth spurt ahead of us, but it also could kick you in the face.
Yes.
And so for me, like the vulnerability that I experience on the regular is me getting closer to my more authentic self. Right? Like getting closer to letting all the bubble thoughts out of my head. There's some vulnerability to that because people say, man, that fool, he's crazy. He's all messed up. And Bruce seconds there, right? If you really are serious about ideas, you need to be serious, not just about presentation, but about feedback.
Yes,
and what do you do with that? And Cindy, I love your point earlier. You're like, you hear it here and you hear it here and you hear it here. Like, maybe I need to look at it.
What's the common denominator?
What's the common denominator? I work with people like, man, I work here and I work here, and like people just suck and this never works out. Like everywhere you've worked, everybody sucks. Right? Like, come on, baby. You gotta look inward. And I know for me, like my cheat code is it's always introspection. It's always every success and every failure I've lived through, I contributed to. Period. I'm not saying it's my fault. I'm not saying I made it happen all by myself. What I'm saying is I contributed in some way. And because I contributed to it, if I take ownership for my contribution, I can change it. Period.
Because you can't change other people, just yourself.
I cannot change other. Like I'm trying to get Jen to be very clear in her communication. Look what happens. This is here.
And that's what I like about extreme ownership is that once you get to that mindset of it, you can expand on yourself so much quicker because you become more real with your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yes, 100%.
So I want to add an example with my kids because that's to me a lot of people can relate. And kids, they come in and it's like this person did this to me or this was done to me. And it's really hard for them because they haven't quite honed in on those skills on how much they contributed, going back to what you said. And so an exercise we use a lot of times with them together, because they, something that happened and they blew up or they got mad or they, did something they shouldn't have done, is, okay, we've acknowledged this is what's happened. What could you have done to change the outcome? And really like having them do that self kind of, really let me think, let me reflect. And they hate it. They hate the exercise because one, they have to get past, they have to remove themselves from this emotional place they're in right now because of what happened. But once they start thinking about, well, if I would have asked her this, if I would have not done this, it's the same thing. I'm talking about 12 and 14-year-olds, but it's the same thing. Do we stop and go, I could have done this and the outcome could have been different, or I could have been clearer in my bag of potatoes description to be able to get the outcome that I wanted. And like, we don't stop and think about that. And one, we're not teaching our kids that, but we need to make sure, are we looking at what did I do? Y'all said it both. What did I do to be a part of this and contribute to this? And what can I have done differently to produce a different outcome?
Boom. Telephone game. So folks, James Gable is hosting the after party. This is the link, the Zoom link to the after party. So you might have to like copy it and paste it into your browser. The three of us, are going to be here peeling potatoes, apparently. Wait a minute. Did anybody notice my shirt?
I did.
This one's for the gals because Miss Stephanie has to check out at her conference. Just amazing, beautiful experience. So James, thank you, brother, for taking the charge on this. And folks, please join in. Y'all get to see each other's faces and make us jealous because we're not going to be there. And then lastly, Miss Cindy came all the way out here. First time any of us have ever met in person. Steve Martin, I think, made the introduction for you to No BS, and you have demonstrated tremendous courage and even coming to spend the weekend with us. And so, of course, payment for that is we want to embarrass you. And Steve Martin, folks, so everybody out there in the Omniverse, show some love to Cindy, because this is not a small thing that she's doing. It's a huge, huge, courageous step. And so I'm going to read Steve Martin's comments. Cindy Becerra has an over-the-top perspective on the value of teams working together. We have shared the difficulties of being the one chosen to rally a team with members not engaged. Cindy, what do you do when everyone playing the game hangs up? How do we facilitate the reconnections? Ever experienced times when no one answers the call? #no pressure. And those are all really deep, meaningful questions. I think we'll dig into them maybe today, tonight, tomorrow morning. But the key thing I want everybody to take away from that is Cindy invests in people, supports the organization through developing processes, improving them, driving change. And she doesn't just do it for the company as part of her job. She does it for herself. And her being here is a demonstration of that. So folks out there in the Omniverse, show Cindy some love because she got it going on. You feel like the spotlight's on you a little bit?
A little bit. It's okay. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But before we wrap up, thank you very much for having me. I've been enjoying it so much. I'm so happy I've got to meet you in person. And hi, everybody.
So awesome. You're awesome.
Definitely.
Good. Closing thought, Jennifer.
This conversation, again, what I love about all of our conversations is it just opens up a lot of other opportunities for things that we can do. Some we're going to do this weekend. Some are probably going to be future live streams. But I just want to I'm excited to go back and look at all the comments because Jesse pulled up like 2% of them.
Yeah.
And so I just want to thank every single person that shows up on these Saturday mornings. And part of it can be because you want to see Jesse's smiley face. But I know a lot of it, and I see it, is the engagement you have with the other people that show up. And this, when we say we have a No BS tribe, it is so true. And what I feel in my heart when it comes to the things that the platform we've created, but also the space that we've created and the community that we're creating, and how Steve connecting with Cindy and pulling Cindy into a tribe that somehow Cindy is in Oklahoma in this cabin with us. That's the ripples of impact that we are creating every single day. And I just tell you, I cannot tell you how grateful I am for every single one of you.
Absolutely. My closing thought is, finally, y'all stuck to the script. I'm just kidding.
I just forgot my own prop.
So awesome. Love y'all very much. We're going to go get super connected and super vulnerable, the three of us. Please jump on the Zoom call with James Gable, and we will talk to you next time. Peace.